Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into something that, well, quietly runs a huge part of our lives. Habits.
Yeah, it's kind of staggering when you think about it. Estimates are, what, 40, maybe 50% of what we do each day? Just pure habit.
Exactly. And what really gets me is how these, tiny automatic things can kick off a whole sequence, shaping what comes next for, minutes or even hours.
It's like that highway entrance ramp idea, right? A tiny turn, but suddenly you're heading in a totally different direction for miles. That small choice has big downstream effects.
That's a great analogy.
Oh.
And our source material for this deep dive today, especially looking into Chapter 13, calls these key points decisive moments.
Uh-huh. Those little crossroads we face constantly.
Yeah, like that split second where you decide, okay, am I going to order takeout or actually cook something, drive, or maybe bike?
Or, homework versus video games. Seems small in the moment.
Right. But Chapter 13 talks about how these stack up. There's even a figure 14, showing visually how one path leads one way, another path leads somewhere else, entirely based on these tiny choices.
And that's really the power, isn't it? That compounding effect, that one decision to cook can influence your energy. Maybe you exercise later, maybe you eat better tomorrow.
Which is exactly what we're digging into. We're going to unpack a really powerful strategy from Chapter 13 for actually building new habits, intentionally steering those decisive moments.
Okay, let's do it.
So the chapter kicks off with a really cool example. Twyla Tharp, the famous dancer and choreographer.
Oh, yeah, her morning ritual.
Right. Wakes up, workout clothes on, heads outside, hails a cab to go to the gym. But the fascinating part is she says the ritual isn't the workout itself.
It's hailing the cab. That's the habit she focuses on.
Exactly. Just that simple act of raising your hand.
It's brilliant because it's so small, so achievable. It makes the much harder thing, the workout, way more likely to happen. It removes a decision point.
That cab is the gateway. And that leads us perfectly into the core strategy we want to focus on from this chapter. The 2-minute rule.
Ah, yes, the 2-minute rule. Sounds simple, maybe even too simple.
Maybe. The rule is basically this. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do.
Less than 2 minutes, so really shrinking it down.
Totally. And the chapter gives some great examples, like instead of read before bed every night, which can feel daunting.
You just aim to read one page.
Or do 30 minutes of yoga.
Nope. Just take out my yoga mat. That's it. That's the start.
Okay, I see. So study for class.
Becomes open my notes.
Fold the laundry, which I hate.
Ha! Yeah, just fold one pair of socks.
Okay. And the big one, like run 3 miles.
Just tie my running shoes. You don't even have to go outside yet. Just tie the shoes.
It almost feels silly. Like that can't possibly work.
Well, the thinking behind it is that you're making it ridiculously easy to start. That's the biggest hurdle for most people, right? Just getting started.
True. Procrastination is real.
So these become gateway habits. Tiny actions that lead you down a more productive path almost without you noticing. Once the yoga mat is out, well, maybe you'll do a pose or two.
Right. The friction is gone. And once the notes are open.
You're much more likely to glance at them, maybe read a paragraph. It gets the ball rolling.
So how do you figure out your own gateway habit?
Yeah.
Chapter 13 suggests mapping your goals.
Right.
Like on a scale.
Yeah, from very easy to very hard. Let's take running again. Run a marathon, obviously very hard. Run a 5K, still hard for many. Walk 10,000 steps, moderate. Walk 10 minutes, getting easier.
Okay.
Put on my running shoes. That's very easy. That takes less than 2 minutes. That's your gateway habit.
Okay. So find the absolute easiest first step related to the big goal.
Exactly. Want to rate more? Maybe the gateway is just write one sentence. Studying. Open the textbook. It's about mastering the art of starting.
Okay, but I still hear that voice saying, seriously, 1 page, 1 pair of socks, tying my shoes, that's not going to get me anywhere.
Yeah.
It feels kind of pointless.
I get that. It's a really common reaction, but you have to reframe it. The point of the 2-minute rule isn't achieving the whole goal in 2 minutes.
Right. It's about the starting part.
It's about mastering the habit of showing up. You're building the consistency muscle first. You gotta standardize the behavior before you can optimize it. You can't improve a habit you don't have.
Standardize before you optimize. I like that. Build the foundation first.
Precisely. And interestingly, once that 2-minute start becomes automatic, like a ritual, it can actually help you get into the zone for the bigger task.
Like athletes with their pregame routines.
Exactly. Or writers who, always make a cup of tea before they sit down. Or even power down routines at night. Small things that signal it's time to switch gears.
Okay, that makes sense. The ritual cues the brain.
Yeah, it makes the transition smoother, conserves willpower for the actual work.
But still, doesn't it feel a bit like you're just, I don't know, playing a mind game on yourself? You know you want to run for 30 minutes, not just tie your shoes.
Huh. Yeah, it can feel like a trick. But Chapter 13 has a neat way to handle that thought. Try actually doing the habit for only 2 minutes and then stopping on purpose.
So tie the shoes, go outside, run for 2 minutes, and then just stop and go back inside.
Yeah. Or meditate for just 2 minutes, then stop, open your notes, glance at them for 2 minutes, then close them.
Why? What does that achieve?
It proves to yourself that you can start. It builds trust in yourself, and crucially, it reinforces your identity. You become the type of person who shows up, even if it's just for 2 minutes initially.
The chapter mentions someone who lost over 100 pounds using this, right? Started by going to the gym for just 5 minutes.
Exactly. He made the habit just showing up. Staying longer eventually just happened. It reminds me of Greg McKeown, the author, who deliberately writes less than he feels like in his journal.
Why would he do that?
To keep it from feeling like a chore, to ensure he always comes back to it. It's like Hemingway's advice. Always stop when you are going good. Leave yourself wanting more for next time.
So, stopping short reinforces the desire to continue later.
And it reinforces the identity. Even 2 minutes at the gym, 5 days a week, means you're becoming someone who doesn't miss workouts. You're casting votes for that new identity. It shifts the focus from just the outcome to being that kind of person.
Okay, so you've got the 2-minute habit down, you're showing up consistently. How do you actually build up to, running the 3 miles or reading the whole chapter?
That's the next stage, what the chapter calls habit shaping.
Habit shaping, okay.
It's about gradually layering on top of that 2-minute foundation once it's solid, slowly increasing the duration or difficulty.
Gotcha. Like the examples in the chapter, becoming an early riser.
Yeah, that was a good one. You don't just set your alarm for 5 a.m. tomorrow. Maybe phase 1 is just making sure you're home by 10 p.m. every night. Phase 2, all devices off by 9:3. Phase 3, in bed by 9:15.
Then lights out by 9.
And eventually, waking up at 6 a.m. feels more natural because you've built the supporting habits. It's incremental.
Same idea for, say, becoming vegan.
Right. Start with veggies at every meal, then maybe cut out red meat, then poultry, then fish. Each step builds on the last. Or exercise. Start with just changing into workout clothes.
Then maybe a walk outside for 5 minutes.
Then maybe hitting the gym for a short session, slowly building up time and intensity. Master each phase before adding the next layer.
But always starting with that core 2-minute action.
Always. That's your non-negotiable entry point. The chapter really drives home that almost any big goal can be distilled down to a 2-minute starting point. Want a healthy life?
Maybe start by just changing into workout clothes when you get home.
Perfect. Want a happier marriage?
Maybe. Spend 2 minutes planning meals together for the week. Or sending one appreciative text.
Exactly. Find that tiny, concrete starting action.
So it seems the 2-minute rule isn't about instant results, but it's a really practical way to just get over that initial hump, especially if you're struggling to make a habit stick.
Absolutely. It makes starting almost laughably easy, builds momentum, and crucially, helps you build the identity of someone who follows through. It's deceptively powerful.
Okay, great stuff. Let's try and summarize the key takeaways from this deep dive into Chapter 13. Habits, even tiny ones, have this ripple effect.
Definitely. And those decisive moments are where the leverage is. Small choices, big consequences over time.
And the 2-minute rule is this fantastic tool. Make the start take less than 2 minutes. Focus on just showing up.
Yeah, it tackles that core problem of just getting started, lowers the barrier, beats procrastination, builds consistency. It's all about making it easy.
So a final thought for everyone listening. Think about one habit you really want to build. Just one. What's the absolute simplest, easiest 2-minute version of that habit you could genuinely start doing? Maybe even today.
It might feel small, almost insignificant. But remember Twyla Tharp hailing that cab. That tiny action was the key. Showing up consistently, even for just 2 minutes, is how real change begins.